From the legendary king of the jungle looking as delicate as a snowflake to the shocking secrets behind Snowflake, the albino gorilla. Here are 10 of the most incredible and stunning albino animals ever. Number 10. The white lion. There is nothing quite like seeing one of your favourite animals turned abnormally pale. Is your brain playing tricks on your eyes? Not quite. And for that matter, there's something magical about seeing the king of the jungle be a gorgeous shade of white. These massive felines are a genetic anomaly. They are the exact same as ordinary lions, except they have a difference in pigmentation. They can also only be found in one place on Earth. White lions can be seen in South Africa, specifically in the Timbavati region. The earliest record of a white lion being sighted in South Africa is from 1938. These majestic lions are even considered divine by many different African cultures. But what's fascinating is that the white lions are not actually albino. Their white colour comes from a recessive trait otherwise known as a genetic mutation called leucism. It's the same kind of genetic mutation that causes albinism, but less severe. White lions can be found anywhere from blonde to completely white, and this stunning coloration doesn't appear to have any impact on their survival in the wild. Unfortunately for the world, white lions were considered technically extinct from between 1992 and 2004. However, the Global White Lion Protection Trust achieved the unthinkable when they reintroduced white lions into their natural habitat in 2004, and since then the prides have been hunting and breeding successfully. But there are still complications, as unfortunately many white lions have been pillaged and sold to zoos or wildlife parks. The only good news about this is that hopefully they continue to breed in captivity as well as in the wild, and we can keep having white lions in the world for the rest of time. These truly are beautiful and magnificent animals. Number 9. Albino Raccoon. You can find raccoons just about anywhere in North America, and they have an adorable bandit-type quality to them. But it's not quite as easy to spot an albino raccoon, for they are extremely rare. Their bleached-appearing counterparts are exceptionally freakish. Because of a genetic mutation, an albino raccoon loses all of its colouring. That includes the bandit stripe across its eyes. The colour goes all the way from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail, and this results in it not even looking remotely like a raccoon. You might not even realise it's a raccoon until the creature starts going through your garbage. It almost looks like a white rat. Supposedly, any raccoon has a 1 in 10,000 chance of being born with albinism. However, your chance of seeing one is actually 1 in 750,000. It's the exact same odds as being struck by lightning. That's because albino raccoons are easier to spot, which makes it tough to survive and blend in a world of bandits, and they typically don't live very long. Also, most people identify them as a possum because of their pale colouring. Albino raccoons are so rare that most don't even know they exist. Congratulations, now you do. Of course, an albino raccoon is still a raccoon. If you're ever to witness one of these pale thieves rooting through your trash cans, don't feed it, don't approach it, and definitely don't try to take a selfie with it. Relish the experience and then move along. Albino raccoons can still cause quite a bit of damage if you do get too close. Number 8. Albino Squirrels. White squirrels can be found all over North America. However, it's unlikely that you'll ever spot an albino one. White squirrels are super rare, and albino squirrels are even more rare and look like mini unnatural monsters. And although they look similar, they're not the same. There are actually 2 types of white squirrels found throughout North America. There is the white squirrel and the albino squirrel. The albino squirrel is a genetically mutated grey squirrel, and you can tell the two apart because the albino squirrel will have demonic red eyes and will be plotting to murder you. Not really, but it's sort of hard to tell. On the other hand, the white squirrel is quite peaceful and will have normal black eyes. It's been estimated that only about 20 or 30% of white squirrels in North America are albinos. In order for this to happen, both the squirrel's parents must be carriers of the unique gene. But wait, there's more! There are even more white squirrels out in the world. In Thailand and some parts of East Asia, there is a subspecies of tree squirrel that has a white coat as well. It's known as Finlayson's squirrel, and it's pretty stinking cute. It has an extremely long tail and almost looks like a lemur. And here's another fun fact. The eastern fox squirrel can be white too, but it's caused by the condition leucism we mentioned earlier, which causes a decrease of certain pigments, causing the squirrel to be grey with white splotches. Number 7. Albino Zebra. The albino zebra, also known as the blonde zebra, is by far one of the most fascinating wild animals in the world. A photographer recently captured some amazing photographs of one while on an expedition in Tanzania. While filming zebras near a watering hole, he spotted the very elusive white zebra, which comes with a golden mane and dusty pale stripes. This zebra was mingling with the rest of the herd in a completely normal way, letting the photographer know that it was accepted despite its contrasting appearance to the rest of its kind. According to National Geographic, which published the photographer's beautiful images, the white zebra that he spotted likely had partial albinism. However, albinism is incredibly rare in zebras. Researchers for a long time have held the belief that any zebra with albinism would have a harder time surviving, but that doesn't appear to be the case, and we're happy for it. Zebras use their stripes for more reasons than just camouflage. They also use their unique look for thermoregulation and to stop bugs from biting them. For this reason, an albino zebra would have a more difficult time deterring insects. This is because flies are more likely to land on a surface that is uniform rather than high contrast. Of course, the white zebra is so ridiculously rare that it hasn't been properly studied, and so scientists are still scrambling to figure out what it means and if we will see more of them in the future. Number 6. Albino axolotl. The axolotl is definitely one of the coolest creatures ever. Also known as the Mexican walking fish, it's a type of salamander, and like other salamanders, the axolotl is able to regrow its limbs if they get cut off. The species used to be found naturally in many lakes in Mexico, but are now considered critically endangered in the wild. However, axolotls have become wildly popular aquarium pets all throughout North America and the rest of the world. And while you typically see pictures of these strange salamanders being bright white, they actually have 5 different colour types. The white ones you see are all albinos. By breeding certain axolotls together, experts are able to create whichever colour variant they choose. The normal type of salamander found in the wild is going to be a brown colour with gold speckles. But since these critters have heated up as popular pets, you see more of them with genetic mutations. The albino version of the exotic salamander is bright white with red or clear eyes. Even more bewitching is that albino axolotls are often crossbred with leucistic axolotls, which are pale pink and have black eyes. The result is a strange white and pink animal that you can see in many exotic fish stores. Even more incredible is that axolotls are able to suddenly change their own colour to an extent to better camouflage themselves. Number 5. Albino hummingbird. Finding an albino hummingbird sitting outside your balcony is like finding a leprechaun in your basement. It is incredibly rare and very unlikely to happen. And even though albino hummingbirds are likely the last animal anyone ever thinks about having albinism, they really do exist. Albino hummingbirds have white feathers and pink, almost orange eyes. Like other albinos, they are unable to create any dark pigment at all. White hummingbirds function normally, just like other hummingbirds. And while spotting an albino is super rare, you still have a relatively good chance of spotting a leucistic hummingbird, which has black eyes and a black beak and white hair. Still, the difference between the two is pretty obvious. Albino hummingbirds have pink beaks and bright pink feet. Also, albino hummingbirds have less of a chance of surviving in the wild. This is because pure white feathers are weaker than those that have the pigment. This sometimes causes their wings to break during migration. Plus, pale white birds are obviously not very well camouflaged and make for easy targets. Number 4. Albino kangaroo. At a German zoo, an albino kangaroo was born just recently. And yes, she was born from an albino mother. While this is a very rare occurrence, what happened next is quite frankly shocking. Just weeks after her birth, the baby albino kangaroo went missing and authorities believe that she has been stolen. This is shocking for multiple reasons. First, how does a person steal an animal from a zoo without being caught? And second, why on earth would someone steal a kangaroo from a German zoo? There are so many disturbing questions here. According to the news report from The Independent, the kangaroo was last seen in her enclosure on a Wednesday morning and was absent when zookeepers went to close the enclosure that night. The zoo actually phoned in 2 hunters with dogs to try and track down the kangaroo, but have had no success. Also, the director of the zoo came forward to say that there was no evidence that the kangaroo was eaten by a predator. And we should hope not, it's a zoo. Animals are not supposed to be eating other animals inside of a zoo. As for how rare an albino kangaroo is, there's only one born out of roughly 100,000 animals. It's not a very good trait for a kangaroo to have because the white fur makes them ridiculously vulnerable to ground predators in the wild. Number 3. Albino alligator. Everyone knows that alligator babies are adorable. When alligators are first born, they are perhaps some of the cutest baby critters in the world. Of course, they eventually grow into terrifying lizards that will eat you at the first opportunity. But still, the babies are quite precious. But if you thought normal baby alligators were cute, you need to take a look at the albinos. At a wildlife center in Florida, a clutch of baby alligators has just been born. These alligators are ridiculously good looking. They were born about 5 inches long and will be staying in protective care for several weeks to ensure their safety. Wild Florida, the sanctuary where they were born, is hoping to come up with some fun winter names for them. The mother and father alligators are also albinos, and they are named Snowflake and Blizzard. There are not very many albino alligators in the wild, and this might be one of the first places where the white beasts will be allowed to thrive and prosper. The team at Wild Florida is so dedicated that when the 26 eggs were found, they were swiftly placed into an incubator and kept safe for 81 days before hatching. Number 2. Snowflake the gorilla. If you've never heard of Snowflake the albino gorilla before, you may have been living under a rock. Snowflake was arguably the second most famous gorilla in the world. He lived for 40 years at the Barcelona Zoo before succumbing to skin cancer in 2003. However, it turns out that Snowflake didn't get his albino condition in a very normal way. New research has shown that Snowflake was the product of inbreeding. This gorilla was born into the wild, then captured in 1966 in Equatorial Guinea. He was also the only known white gorilla in the world. That's made him quite a star during his lifetime. It also made him the target for a lot of science experiments and studies. Everyone wanted to know where Snowflake got his pink complexion and white fur. It's a genetic mutation that has never been found in gorillas before. But after Spanish researchers sequenced the gorilla's full genome, they revealed that Snowflake was actually the product of his uncle and his niece breeding. What's really strange about this is that inbreeding is not part of gorilla behavior. According to Live Science, the only reason for any gorilla species or subspecies to breed within the family is when there is no one else to mate with. The likely issue here is habitat loss, forcing gorillas to mate within the family to produce more offspring. The result in this case was an albino named Snowflake. Number 1. Migaloo the albino humpback whale. The last character in today's video is another very famous animal. Migaloo is considered to be the most famous humpback whale on Earth. The remarkable creature was first seen in 1991 off the coast of Australia by a group of volunteers who had been conducting a count of local whales. The first photograph of Migaloo was then taken using a telescope from quite some distance away. It wasn't until 1993 that the Pacific Whale Foundation finally encountered the notorious white whale once again off the coast of Australia. It was then that the whale was confirmed to be completely white. But it wasn't until DNA testing was done in 2011 by researchers at the Australian Marine Mammal Centre that Migaloo was confirmed to be a true albino. Coincidentally, 2011 was also the year a second white humpback whale was sighted. The whale appeared to be a calf, but it was not initially known whether the new white whale was the offspring of Migaloo or not. Even though all humpback whales are protected under Australian law, Migaloo and other whales that are at least 90% white have special management and extra protection. This means that no vessel can approach within 1,500 feet of the animal. It's a necessary rule to have in place because people are lunatics and try to get too close to the animal, like the guy in 2003 who drove straight into Migaloo with his boat to get a better look. Thanks for watching. Which of these albino animals did you think was the most adorable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.